Pranakasha livestream.
Hey folks, this is Matt at Pranakasha Productions, and today we're talking with Samuel Cockings, a Star Trek aficionado, VFX guy, actor, fan series producer, and so on, and then also the creator of Trekyards.
One of the duo, yep.
Okay. That's interesting. All right, well, let's start there. So Trekyards, apparently the thing behind you is like a jillion Star Trek ships, right?
Yep, all rendered by me for the backers, and yeah, a nice collage that on screen looks like it's one big poster, but actually it's all individually printed and rendered and cut out and put on the wall.
That's cool. Okay, so Trekyards is a podcast, correct?
Web show.
Web show.
We did a podcast for a bit, but web show came first.
Well, sort of like this, where it's like a podcast, but it's got visuals type of thing.
Well, no, we started with doing documentary content, meaning we took ships and we reviewed them, analysed them, did scripts, got guests to talk about design work, interview. So it's more web show. Podcast is more discussion, pure discussion. We always have a very focused piece. And we're doing it. We've managed to release a new ship video for every single week for 10 years. Every Saturday, we haven't missed a single one. It's kind of crazy. Okay, link in the description so you guys can click on it and go check it out. And then I believe you know who Donnie Versaga is, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did some interiors for me, or I borrowed some of his interiors for my first fan film, my first Trek one, back in the day. Just so happens that I similarly borrowed a bunch of his interiors for my Trek fan film. Like most of my TOS interiors are his, and then also the reason why you and I met is because I'm trying to find a TOS version of a Miranda-class ship, which is basically the ship that's in the Wrath of Khan, except I want a version that looks like TOS. And but I did use Donnie Versiga's rendering of it, still, and so I've used that, and then I make the lights blink, and I make the warp engines spin, and it works pretty good for my show. But I'd love to have one that's actually rendered that we can have to do maneuvers and stuff like that. And that's why we met on Facebook Messenger. And then after somewhat of a lengthy discussion about so many things, we decided to have you as a guest on my podcast. And thus you're here. A lot of things, so yeah, hi there. And we are going to show a clip from one of your shows. Like I want to show Tholian Web, that one eventually. If you want to tell us a little bit about that one. Tholian Gambit was a film I did when Picard Season 2 came out, where the first episode was really engaging, and we all got really excited by it. And I thought I had an actress already coming down for a weekend shoot, so there's a couple of hours there, we could do something else. So I wrote this thing to use a uniform that I already built to kind of show off, a fan created Picard uniform. I was the first in the world to make one of those. We shot it, but unfortunately, the actress is mostly playing sort of 30-year-old, 40-year-old in the First Contact era, but of course in the Picard era she'd be in her mid to late 50s. The actress is only 30, so I had to use CGI aging to make her appear 50-ish, and I've had some lovely compliments. One of my favourite was for her saying, "No offence, Nim, you're terrible in this." Okay, let's watch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch it on my iPad, but then I'll edit it in so that everybody can see it good quality, and then I'll talk about it. So here we go.
Captain, 4 new ships incoming.
Open the channel to the lead Tholian vessel. This is Captain Keeley of the USS Horizon. Tholian ships.
And she's the one you aged with CGI, right?
You're in Federation space. I can ignore the treaty violation if you leave. Now. Did they get the message?
Well, she looks great. Oh, there's you.
They got it. Just no response.
There's no response.
Tholians. They never make it easy. What's their weapon status?
Fully charged.
Fully charged.
Oh, the silence is deafening. Red alert.
And this is all green screens, all the props.
Open the channel to the Tholian fleet.
Absolutely.
Weapons powered and nothing to say.
Yeah, you're really good at it.
It's not starting
Oh, that looks
here.
so good.
And this is a
They're charging the web
it's a
emitters.
pretty early one for me as well. This is not
Tactical.
new. This is not
Charge
pretty soon for
phasers,
me.
load quantum
Wow, the lighting's
torpedoes.
perfect.
Tholian ships.
Again, you should watch
My
the new one
tactical
there.
officer has his
Much
finger
better.
on the button, and you're on our
Okay,
side
well,
of
I
the
can't
border.
even see anything wrong with
Respond
this.
now or never.
The lead Tholian ship is hailing.
I'm actually up-aged as well.
Finally,
because I'm
on
also in
screen.
my 30s, so I should be in my 50s. So it's more subtle
You're
on me,
outnumbered, Horizon.
but
Leave
I
the
know
area.
that.
And you are outgunned. This ends one of two ways. Whatever you're here for, it's not worth it.
We wish free passage. An Atlantic temporal radiation has been detected. We must intercept.
If you want a scientific permit, contact the
Yeah, this
diplomats.
is great. What do you
There
use
is
to
no
chroma key? Are
time.
you using Premiere Pro or what do you use?
I'm sorry if
Or
galactic
After Effects.
politics are tiresome.
What is it?
Classic
We'll
After-
feel
all
it
the classic
sometimes,
After
but
Effects.
follow
After
the proper
Effects?
channels.
There is no time.
Please, for the sake of our treaty, leave Federation space. You have 1 minute to comply. Close the channel.
And this takes place during Picard Season 2, the first episode.
Do you think they're going to leave?
I hope so.
And design those 30s as well. Those are my custom ship designs.
And there they go. Okay. All right, so that's super impressive. And this was one of your first tries at this?
Yeah, it was kind of a lot of these films are because something happened that I want to react to. So therefore, I was like, what do I have in the buffer? What can I use? What can I access? And I made a film based on that with the logic. Yeah, it was my fourth Trek short, right before we had Emma and Alexa join the cast, and then I had to start building them up as characters. So it was the last one of the planned ones, as it were, and then we started getting a bit all the other films.
Okay, so and then do you do like do you just shoot this like in your bedroom or something like that, or how?
Front room,
The what room?
front room,
Front room. Okay.
lounge.
The lounge. Okay, and then to get your chroma keying that good, you said you used After Effects, and then you just chroma key in After Effects. You don't use like what is it called, rotoscoping.
Yeah, experience and I mean I've been doing this for 11 years, so
Okay, well, I mean, I use Premiere Pro, which for my chroma keying, and the way what I do a lot of times is I have actors that are out of state, and I have schedule a Zoom call, and then I send them a green screen. So a lot of times they don't light their green screen up very well, so I have to do all these tricks to get it to key right. But in your case, is your green screen really lit well?
ironically, because I knew I was going to do. So if you've done a little green screen, you know that it's not about how big the screen is width-wise, it's about depth and width, as in when you have lights that you need to have actors in front of, suddenly if you've got, let's say, a 12-foot room, or 5 metre, whatever, quite a long room, if you have to have actors in front of a set of lights, you've now lost a large amount of space, because as soon as you turn the camera, you'll see the lights. So the only screen I could get that was going to fit the space I have, the only one on eBay, Amazon, whatever, was actually rather reflective. So it's actually kind of a bad green screen for the full room version, but it covers basically an entire wall. I have a more
How big
personal...
is it? Like 12 feet, 12 by 10 or something like that, or?
Yeah, I don't know, it's it's not big when you start putting, like, you can put 3 people standing on it, okay, but you can't do any more than that, really.
Okay.
It's kind of built for 2 people. And I've got a single green screen, which is a much crisper one for all the Indiegogo stuff I do. That's why it's like perfect key, because that's like I need one person sat straight. For all the documentaries I do, where you need 2 angles at the same time, you can't use the single green screen.
Right. Okay. So, but usually you would just shoot the shot twice to get those different angles.
Oh yeah, 2 cameras, so I just shoot it once.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, and then like what I have to do, almost all the time. In fact, I think there's one scene where I actually have 2 actors actually being shot at the same time, but all the rest I just shoot them one at a time, and I have to composite them in. Which is a lot more work.
Oh, I know. Yep. It is tricky.
So,
This big project content I've done, while I've been very lucky to shoot everybody practically, even my Canadian, my Irish, my Scottish, I've managed to get them all to me with my cameras.
Right.
Most of them are shot independent of larger things, so you kind of have to guess Like, for example, in a upcoming episode with in the TOS era, part of the Prodigy thing, there's a TOS ship's bridge crew and no one shot together. So that was a real fun edit.
Yeah.
But I shot them all, so I could fully gauge the direction. But yeah,
Right.
they are not together.
I know all about that. Now, the thing that impresses me right off the bat is that your green screens and your sets look so beautiful that you wouldn't even, I mean, I'd have to look really close to see any flaws in that. So, and like what I do, like my show is all TOS and I use all kinds of clips from original series. Some of it is off of the DVDs, but some of it I just take right off of YouTube. So the quality of the shot isn't that good. And a lot of times I'll have to fuzz it out to make my stuff match that. So I can get away with some green screen shots that aren't the best. Like if you look close enough, you can see the flaws, but it's still passable enough that most people won't notice. But when I look at yours, I can look really close and not see any flaws.
And like I said, that's a very old one. I've improved significantly,
So
and I'm doing them so frequently, and I have such a relatively quick turnaround at what I aspire to. I have to keep finding newer ways to make it more efficient. I can't spend 7 days full time on every film because I need to live and eat. So therefore, if I can save 4 or 5 hours here, 4 or 5 hours there, then it's it's useful. So just by releasing 18 films and filming at least another 15, you have to get better, right?
Right. That's exactly the conundrum I'm in right now, and I'm trying to do exactly what you're saying, is learn how to be able to produce an episode on way less time. But I'm not there yet. You're way past me as far as that goes.
But I also invest a lot of time. I just put aside paid work to do that all the time.
Right, it's the thing. And I'm not getting paid to do this either, and I have to be in IT. Well, I do all kinds of other stuff. I have to have my normal day job and
That's what
be a
people
musician and all these other things.
That's what people don't quite appreciate, is that even if you're not paying yourself to make your film, you're choosing to not do paid work to spend the time to make the film. So you're still making a loss, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
So
If you consider your time to be valuable and you otherwise would have been paid, then if you're doing it for free, you could say that you're losing that amount of money.
Yeah. And I'm very keen to do things in regular, and I really, because I found that I've built these characters, the Anakita you saw, who, there's a film where we see her as a cadet, which is de-aged, and now she's only 18, and you saw her as 50. And by seeing characters in 2 points of their lives, and they feel different because of the direction and the writing, you really felt you know the people. Then you've got my other 4 or 5 cast as well, as, rather than other fan films that want to have, a full TOS bridge crew, and you don't know any of their names because they're not characters, they're just people.
Right.
I have only a few people, but they're all people. So you'll often find, why they're the only person in this film? Because I had Emma for 6 hours and I wanted to shoot a film that I could shoot just this. How do I be creative? And we started in the pandemic doing this sort of work. So it's all about how can I not have more than one person on set, because I couldn't. Right. And then you start coming up with really creative ideas. And how do you have, for example, you have maybe 2 of the same person. Maybe one's de-aged. So now you have 2 Nicks, Nick Cook, an older Cook and a younger Cook. Mm-hmm. That's a film by itself. And narratively you have, there's a lot of creative ways you can do these things.
So your films are typically these sort of short 5-minute films that are just like little. Well,
no, that's our shortest film. I would say conventionally we're about sort of 12 minutes.
That's long.
Our longest was 55, but in 2 parts. But the longest story was 50. That was our first big film that took
How quickly could you produce that from beginning to end? 55-minute film.
Well, that's the funny one, because when so I've had 2 unique cases of, oh no, I'm gonna react. The big ones. It was Prodigy got cancelled and Low Decks got cancelled. Now Prodigy was a giant gut punch because I knew some people on Prodigy and I kind of felt that personally.
Right.
And so it was cancelled on the Friday. Now, I'd already been building assets in 3D to make Prodigy content. I already commissioned a reasonably substantial amount of money to build some costumes for Prodigy. Again, first.
Hold on. So you're going to do a live action version of Prodigy?
Well, this is the story. So I already had a lot of the stuff sort of half produced, and I emailed someone at Prodigy and said, "Hey, this is not okay. I'm going to make a film." And they said, "Okay." And I said, And I knew that for anything to feel meaningful, it has to come out within a certain amount of time from a news. So I thought, I've got 7 days to finish this film. To write it, film it, start it, finish it. I emailed my 2 other actors that night. I filmed Emma on Saturday via Zoom. I filmed Nick via Zoom on Sunday, as in he used his own camera, I directed him. I recorded my bit on Monday, Tuesday.
That's how I always do it.
I did CGI throughout the week. I was going to bed every single morning at 6 a.m. I saw dawn every day, but I didn't do anything else. I literally woke up, worked, ate, worked, did no work, did no Trekyards, did nothing else for 6.5 days. And on the 7th day, I got a film out that's like 12 minutes long. It's shockingly ambitious, and it got 35,000 views. And the Hagemans, the showrunners, noticed and they retweeted it. And it's the writers of Prodigy, and it felt like a big boom. We made a live action Prodigy film. They included the Pro Star and the Dauntless, and it was a really for what it was, 6 days worth of work. It was amazing. Now, of course, that was absolute to the grindstone. I had lots of back pain at the end of it. I had headaches. I wasn't doing well at the end of it, but I managed to achieve that. When Lower Decks got cancelled, I felt kind of guilty if I wasn't going to make a film because I made it for Prodigy and it was so well received. So I said, I will make a film for Lower Decks as well, but I'll take 10 days. Let's take it easy. Yeah. So I challenged.
How long was the Lower Decks one?
A bit longer, because I had extra time. I challenged one of my 3D artists. Can he build me a Cerritos bridge in 4 days? He was like, okay. So we did, but right on the last, I think it was technically 5 days, but and my girlfriend was there that weekend, and I said, she's in them sort of, as a voiceover character, as a documentarian, as an interviewer, right? And I said, please be in this film in live action, because I don't have to be the lead again. That's self-serving, right? So she agreed, but I had to write it that night, I think at 10 to 12 in the evening, and we shot her bits the next day at 3 for 2 hours. Then she went home, then I started editing it. I got Sean from Trek Culture to reprise his role as an audio cameo that I shot the next day.
Sean Farrick, who I just interviewed a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
right.
He plays Dominic Quinn.
Okay.
In our films. He reprised, and he actually got an award for a guest role in that because he did a really good, funny job, as did my girlfriend. She's now an award-winning fan film actress, so thank you, fan film community, for that. And that I got out in about 12 days, so I wasn't rushing it. But it's quite a long film, and that's worth watching, because it's just really... it's another zeitgeist, everything kind of worked together. So if I do nothing else and do stuff I've already got, or stuff I could work with very quickly, but then I'm just lost a week's worth of paid work, and that's not okay.
You got to put links in the descriptions for each one of these things. So Prodigy,
they're all different.
And then the other one was with the Lower Decks one.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one?
It was fun. Which other one?
The one that Sean was in.
That's the Cerritos one. That's the Lower Decks one.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put those two down there. Wow. Okay. All right. I need to adopt you as my guru to teach me how to crank out material that fast. It's taken me over a year to get episode 5 of my show done, and it's still not even close to being done. Mostly because I'm procrastinating, but still.
Well, a big part of how I frame it is that, for example, I have a lot of people I work with, right? So Romulan War and Avalon and Dominion, right? And obviously they're coming from a certain perspective of storytelling and what they want to see. But they can often ask a shot from me that will actually take 3 times as long as it could take, because they want one specific effect or one specific thing to happen, right? That just takes time to do, for whatever reason. When I do my Trek shorts, I try almost never, to write those sorts of shots. So you might see a film that has 50 space shots in.
Right.
But they're all, for me, achievable quickly. Versus a film I have 10, but they're all horrendously complicated and difficult and annoying that take the time. So even though it feels like I've done a lot, it's actually way more efficient the way I've done it. So that's when I write my own stuff. I can play with what I've got versus saying there's one element. Now I say that, of course, but I did a 3 GoFundMe mini shorts, and I had Nimran de-aged for the entire piece, which means a full CGI face for 21 minutes of content, which was a horrendous thing to do. But I needed
you have to go in and
amazing.
Tweak it to make it look good.
It's a whole thing, but it was worth it.
Okay.
So that was still achievable, but that was a bit dumb, but in a good way. So sometimes creativity takes over. But yeah, I try and be efficient. Because also I've done so many films, I've got the ships ready to go, got the interiors ready to go.
Right.
I can suddenly just shoot, do a scene here, do a scene there. Like Nick Cook, for example, he's writing new Intrepid films, and I've built sets for me. He can just do a 2-second scene in the mess hall, and I've got it, and I could load it up and render it within an hour, right? Whereas when we started, you'd have to commission the artist, build it, texture it, light it. It could take 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, but now that's been done. That's why it's a dangerous hobby. It's a dangerous hobby because the buffet gets bigger and bigger. Which also means I want artists like you to be like, hey, Sam, do you have these sets? Like, yes. You wouldn't think to use them otherwise, but use what we've got. We've built them to be used. And it's amazing, right? I'm trying to get Drowned Dominion to do a TNG film. Like, go into TNG because I've got all these things we could do ready to go.
What kind
right?
of TOS sets do you have? Virtual sets?
Bridge, I got Turbolift, I've got a very nice corridor, I've got we're building the sick bay right now, that's an exclusive. The sick bay will now appear in track shots. I've got really nice engineering, that's a really recent rebuild, that's beautiful.
Okay, question. Okay, does your engineering have a sloped roof like they have, that they don't have in the original show, but they have in a lot of the remade sets?
Because I went to Ticonderoga, so I sent my artist shots to Ticonderoga.
Okay, so I got a good one. This is what I tell everybody. I assume you have the Star Trek blueprints. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Okay, just a second. They're right over there, so I'm going to go grab them real fast. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, folks, we're talking about this. And in here, these are actual blueprints, old style. Like this.
Vintage at this point.
It's vintage. Okay, I got to do this without ripping anything. Well, okay, so like this. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. All right, so anyways. Now, there's one, a bit of a conundrum with these blueprints, is that if you go and try and find the engineering room in these blueprints, you'll find that according to the blueprints, the engineering is like right here near the impulse engines. And I'm like, well, that's not right. So, but I figured out why it is. You want to know why?
Go for it.
In reality, the engineering section is down here in the secondary hull, similar to where it is in all the other versions of the Enterprise. It really is there. That's why the Ticonderoga set has the sloped roof, right? Because it's a secondary hull, right? So the reason why that it's put in the wrong place in these official blueprints is because Section 31 was very uncomfortable with the actual location of engineering being publicly known. So they intentionally put it in the wrong spot, so the most vulnerable part of the ship was not in public knowledge. So that's how they did it.
It's a psyop.
So in reality, it really is. It's always been here.
It's a big conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sloane's a real piece of work, and they got time travel, I'm sure. So, but no, we built engineering. We built, most of the sets now. TOSs are less. I don't do a lot of TOS because you guys do TOS, but it's really satisfying to do TOS, and ironically harder in a lot of ways because unlike most sets, especially corridors you find in the other treks, which light themselves with the lights in the set, you just turn them on and the software does the magic once you've textured it and such. TOS had no lighting. Everything's faked with spotlights, so you can't just
colored lights all over the place.
And colored lights, so it's really textural. It takes artistry to fake the fakery of their fakery.
Yeah.
But when you get it, it's really satisfying. So that the corridor is really difficult.
Well, it's so funny. It's so fun because there's people like me that actually, I saw TOS in the 70s when I was in I started watching it in third grade in like 1974. So it had already gone to syndication. But, so it's just completely ingrained into me. And when Star Wars came out, for a few years, I thought, oh, TOS is so old-fashioned. I'm way more into Star Wars now. But now in my later years, I'm like, I just love the TOS sets, and I love the TOS Enterprise. I love everything about it. The Christmas lights and the little spinny turbines and everything. It's like, you know what? That's just the coolest era. Because it's like sci-fi and retro at the same time. Like, I love the fact now that the computer, when the computer does its thing, you can hear it going... You can hear like gears grinding away in the computer, and it makes all these noises and all this stuff like that.
It feels constructed in a way that doesn't make sense, the wrong word, but you think it makes sense because of the logic behind it. You know, all the sets are crafted in a way that's very clever because they're very clever that made them. You know, I mean, I've gone Ticonderoga more than once, and just walking down that corridor, you lose yourself instantly because it's such an iconic visage, and you can almost not see the ceiling, or the lack of ceiling, I should say. And it's just you know it. And then once you've been to Ticonderoga and you physically walked the soundstage, you can never watch TOS the same, because then you know when they reach the end of the corridor and stop, because you know the end of the corridor. Which is interesting. When I did the DS9 corridor, the main one where the briefing room is, cause I always give my artists as much reference as I can, so I spend like half a day getting reference and working stuff out and trying to do the maths, so they don't have to do it, they just have to build it. And it was so fascinating to look through every single episode of the corridors, every single episode for all 7 seasons, and find the director who was a freak, who wanted to do weird stuff, because they would shoot angles that no one else did. So there's one director for one episode. There's a shot where Odo and a security officer are walking the entire corridor, like the entire set, but they have them start up against the wall of where the set ends. But the camera guy is actually leaned over a little bit, so you can kind of see them before they start. And I know they're pressed right up against it, because that's all they have, and then start. And it's so fun to know exactly the moments they stop and start, and as far as they go, because we built the sets and I've textured them, so I kind of have this real appreciation for space. And yeah, it's very different doing it in 3D and sort of feeling the sets and then seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, that type of stuff is so fun. Yeah, and I have the full DVD set right there of the entire TOS series. And the thing that I'm most proud of is all those DVDs that I have the original special effects. Mm-hmm. So none of the CGI. So it has the original planets and everything. And you know, like, I mean, like if you go back and watch like Doomsday Machine or whatever, there's some effect shots in there that are just completely terrible, right? But I've seen it so many times, it's like, it's got to look like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know? And so I still much prefer the actual model of the Enterprise than any of the CGI, especially in that. Because it looks more real to me, you know, even though it's a model.
Well, and model is real, therefore. That's the gentle irony. Even when I was starting my CGI journey, it didn't take me long to think I could do better than the remasters, at least in terms of interesting angles, right? And now, at this point, obviously they are now...
Uh-oh.
There are some cool things. There's a lot of like, well, that's not aged well, and that's the definitive. Whereas the classic, you know, it is bad in that they don't move very much, but everything is real because they're real miniatures, and if it was just cleaned up a bit, the grain and such would be more watchable.
Right.
But yeah, it'd be fun to go back and remaster TOS and do it kind of more.
Well, you know what I wish they would do?
I would, yeah.
The thing is, they have the actual model at the Smithsonian. What I wish they would do is just rent that room for a weekend and put some green screens behind it and make a whole bunch of new practical shots. Because it's totally restored.
You'd have to move the miniature to somewhere else, because you need a track. You need for motion control. But that is I've never thought of that. You could do that for the recent Blake 7, which is a very famous sci-fi show in England. They're just getting a Blu-ray, and they hired some random fans, as in not random, but like to us random fans, to rebuild all the miniatures and film all the miniatures. So there's very little CGI involved, so that they both have the updated effects of being modern, but will be miniature works, they look dated, and that they do limited. So they spent years doing that, and it's like, that is a wonderful thing to do, because that was a cheap show. Trek was a very expensive show. So
see, I have this fantasy that if you're good enough, you could even just do some handheld shots, don't try too fancy of maneuvers, but just get some different angles, you know, and just move the camera a tad slowly, but just from an angle that you'd never get in the original show with a practical shot.
Well,
you know?
I mean, of course, if you get someone from ILM, you know, Lucas's visualized company, I mean, they could do it in an afternoon, right? They could rotoscope it out, they could do the grading, you know, get any of them, they could just do it. It's us that have trouble doing it, but they could just do it.
Guys, we got to do a GoFundMe or Kickstarter to have this happen. Wouldn't it be so cool to have some actual new practical shots from the original Star Trek model that's totally restored, looks beautiful?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that would be the coolest thing ever? Okay, we got. I mean,
they filmed it back then.
Because it's sitting right there in the museum. Mm-hmm. All you'd have to do would be to schedule and pay them whatever. You know, like we'll give you $10,000 or whatever, so we can
in transit.
What's that?
Imagine if you got damage in transit though. Wouldn't you feel
No,
terrible if
you
it got, like, a
just do it
nacelle
right
broke off?
there.
You couldn't really do it just there. You'd have to close it too much, and you'd have to build a track. It's much easier to move it to a soundstage where you've got the setup. Then you could do the shots properly. Because if you do it properly, right? You need to move it to final location.
I have an idea. What if you got some really precise drones and just had them fly the track shots? Computer controlled drones that could just really precisely fly all the shots.
I mean, it would be better than TOS, right? It would be crisper than TOS footage. So, yeah. Interesting.
Okay, we got some ideas. I wonder, has anybody even... Actually, that's another great idea. I wonder if anybody has created a system that does exactly that. Basically drones that do track shots.
For people and such, can get drones to auto track. Proper Hollywood ones, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, why couldn't you do it with a really nice camera, too?
No, there would be on those drones. There'd be 4K reds.
Yeah. Well, I know people do drone shots all the time. They do wide drone shots now instead of using helicopters. Mm-hmm. So just get a drone that's precise enough that can do a lot tighter shots that are track shots, basically.
Yeah. That's crazy.
We gotta do it. Oh, that would be so cool. For example, I'm looking at my Star Trek Enterprise right here, right? And there's no shot like this in TOS of the practical model that has this angle where I'm above. I may be like 300 feet above or maybe 500 feet above the warp engines looking like this. There's no shot like that. So I could easily do a shot handheld if I could get the green screen behind it right there at the Smithsonian. Just like this. And just slightly move in a little bit just to make it look, I could do that shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have if I used my phone, I'd get a fisheye effect, which actually might work good because it would create this perspective, that would be more real, like what it would really do in real life. I mean, see, I'm getting all these ideas. All that I have to do is get them to let me put a green screen up behind, and it wouldn't be that hard to light. It probably could, because nowadays cameras don't need fancy lighting, really, right? And I could do it.
Depends what standard you're going for, of course. If it's a hobby thing, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Although it's funny you say that, but First Frontier, the fan film, they did a miniature and they had to not use any of it almost because it wasn't shot well enough, and that was on a proper soundstage. So miniatures to get good are harder than you think.
Well,
That's why
yeah.
people don't do it anymore.
Well, of course, I mean, like this model wouldn't work. It doesn't look good. But that 10-foot or 11-foot model would look great. Oh, okay. I gotta put that on my bucket list now. Or if they wouldn't let you do a green screen, just shoot it and then rotoscope the whole thing with After Effects.
Possible.
Okay. Okay, so that inspires me to get back to editing episode 5 of my show, because now I have an exterior shot that could possibly happen that I'm really excited about.
Not just that, but we can put a bridge in the window. I tend to put that in the dome.
Oh my God. Okay, could you do a shot where we could like fly by the bridge and show the interior of the bridge? Like, okay,
That's what I'd like to do.
Season 3. Okay, now obviously not as good as they did in the Orville. They did a shot like that. In season 3 of the Orville, you probably remember, they did a shot where you were going by the bridge of the Orville from the outside, and but you were close and you could see everybody inside, and it looked really good. And I'm pretty sure they actually shot an actual exterior shot. It wasn't a model. I think what they did is they
shot people on their set and they put it inside the CGI model, yeah.
Right, then they CGI'd a skin over the shot that they just did to make it. You know what shot I'm talking about?
Probably.
Well, I can't remember which episode it is, but it was in season 3 of the Orville, and it was a really cool. What they did was, in fact, he even told me how they did it, because I was talking to Eric Hayden, who was like the VFX supervisor for season 3, I believe. And he told me how we did it, and I believe they had windows in the set,
window frames,
in their frames, and so what they did was they used those from the other side of the set entered the shot, and then of course put a skin over it, a CGI skin, to make it look like the outside of the ship. Does that make sense, what I just said? Anyways, so we could do something that crazy.
Not just, but if you wanted to get the shuttle bays built, they could have shuttle bays, they could have...
Oh, I want shuttle bays.
Because then you have stuff like...
And I want shuttlecraft going in and out of the shuttle bays.
Because then you start thinking, well, what are these fun, establishing shots that you, like, so build a bank of establishing shots? Well, a shuttle going into the bay, that's a cool shot.
Yeah.
4 or 5 times, yeah.
Well, I could even then, if I got a shuttle bay shot, then I could even have a thing where I write it into the script for some reason, like the transporters don't work, so they have to use a shuttle to get from the Enterprise to the Brooklyn and back.
And I remember I have a full CGI shuttle interior as well, so you could be in the shuttle as well. Not just that, but you could do shots from inside the shuttle looking out the windows as the shuttle flies up to the other ship.
Okay, did they use you for that? Okay, what show was that? There was a fan film that just came out a while ago. The whole film was about a shuttle crash landing on a planet. It was the girl. It was two people. Did you do that?
That was Avalon. Yeah, that was I've done so many of those, I can't remember the name, but it's I liked it. He's drone. Josh used drones for that. Yeah, that was our custom Avalon shuttle, which you're also able to rent them for everyone else as well. Because that's the thing. If I work for everybody, then for example, if you wanted to use the First Frontier Connie, which is a custom, we
can all
Connie,
just share, mix and match.
And if you want, that's the thing. Once you get into the ecosystem, what we do, you can start asking people for assets, or I want to use Gary Davis's Romulan ship because I
have a question.
Go for it.
Have you done any Orville sets?
No, but I really would love to have. And so Josh Owen for Crisis, I was involved in the script from an early process, like bouncing ideas off me or with me, the fun of that. And I was like pitching, we want more Galaxy Quest because it's such a zeitgeist. And it was meant to be originally more. I wanted to build a bridge. I wanted to do shots of the bridge. I thought it'd be really fun. Galaxy Quest, same deal. But obviously it compressed down. But I'd love to have an Orville bridge. I'd love to, because they're all doable, right? My team are ready to build. Because
my show is the Orville and Star Trek mixed together, of course. That's why I have the Orville flying right next to the Enterprise,
which obviously we have in Orville, so
right there.
Exterior.
So,
when you start thinking cool custom stuff, yep.
Because you know what I do? You'll probably think it's laughable, but I've done some custom Orville shots, like in my episode 4. Was it 4? Yeah, like I did a crash landing scene where I had to have an Orville shuttle crash land on an ice planet and then fall into this pit and end up 50 feet below. So what I did was, I took the scene. There was a scene in The Mandalorian, where the Mandalorian ship crashed on an ice planet.
I was visualizing that as well.
So what I did is I took that scene and I overlaid an Orville shuttle. That I stole from some other thing, and I rotoscoped the Orville shuttle to get it isolated, and put it in there, and I did it well enough that it looks damn good.
By day, my limbs, by night, my mind, for thee and for myself, no quiet mind.
So I also did the same thing I did the exact same thing in that same episode. At the end of the episode, where in The Mandalorian, there's a scene where there's this beautiful shot where these X-wing interceptors are flying up in the clouds in sunset. I did that, and then what I did again was I overlaid an Orville shuttle over that. Then I found a certain shot that fit pretty well, and I overlaid it, and it looked damn good.
Somebody spotted us.
Looks like a couple of resistance interceptors. This autopilot got dogfight protocol.
Activating evasive maneuver protocol Delta 3.
Taking a shot.
reflector shields at 100%. Ego-lithium submatrix nominal.
It works.
The shuttle's got
Yeah.
ego lithium.
So, and because my show is TOS, if it looks a little hokey, it's okay because it fits the genre. So, I mean, it doesn't look as good as what you just showed me, but in yours, it's got to be more professional, clean looking. But mine,
when you go custom, you can say, well, how would it look for an Orville shuttle to land in the Miranda class shuttle bay?
exactly.
And you could do it proper tracking and complicated, or leaving and you know, or blow up and destroy them, whatever you want to do.
Oh, there's so many possibilities. Now I'm gonna just like be dreaming up all these different things I want now.
And this is why it's great to invest in the high quality models first, because this is obviously I've worked with loads of people and do different things. If you commission a model that's this quality, and then let's say 3 films down the line, you say, I want this close up, and I say, okay, we do the shot. You say, it looks bad. I'm like, yes, you didn't build it for close ups. Had you built it for close ups at the first point, every shot in between would have looked better, and you could do close ups. So say if you wanted to add a shuttle bay, you'd say we're going to build it first, otherwise the model won't be built with them in mind, and it'll have to then like force in, and it's more of a jiggery pokery to get a shuttle bay versus build it in one, do it in one, and boom. That's why
And you can't like upgrade on a lower quality model to a high one.
No, you can, but it's harder, as weird as that sounds. Just build it all in the first patch. And then, like I say, like things like the bridge interior, right? Just do it in pass one or do interiors in the windows, right? If you've got it from day one, then it's quality from day one. And all that stuff is nice. The modelers tend to like to complete things, but going back, it can often annoy them. As anybody, right? Go back and do something 8 months later, right?
Oh, this is so cool.
And this is why I love interiors so much, because spaceships are great, but and they're great. Obviously, I love spaceships, but to have interiors, you can, as a filmmaker, say, I want. And this is where my original films fell down a bit. My first one, because I was utilizing friends to do the backgrounds as pictures, so I sort of vaguely prevised because I had whatever. But now I can say, right, I need to shoot a ceiling shot. Okay. And I just do the ceiling shot, right? I can do any shots I want, 360, any part of the bridge, walk around the bridge, whatever you want, and bring it to life in a way that is so freeing that, okay, you can only get so close on a Connie model, but on an inside set, you could do kind of infinite angles, and it's really nice to have that freedom.
Okay, question. Would it be easier to create a CGI model of this green hand, or would it be easier just to have your CGI ship and then just have a real green hand and then try to make it, you know, do how they did it in the TOS?
Definitely CGI, but not just because it's part of CG is perspective. I've got a couple of shots in my films where I try to do a CG extra as a real person, but you can never truly match the perspective of the shot. It's just impossible because all these things, you know, height, depth, unless you literally measure, right? They're 6 foot away, they're 4 foot high, right? All those things, we certainly can't do it on our budget or time frame. But if you put a CGI character in the seat, everything lines up perfectly. Of course it does. So if you put a CGI hand on the ship, everything lines up, everything's perfect, and it can have its own unique lighting, like that hand's glowing, right? How would a CGI hand lighting the ship would look so viscerally real versus your hand and then a fake glow? It's almost just the more, ironically, the more CGI you can put in the scene, the better, because the more it can interact with itself. That's why I've started going away from even thinking about doing like, you know, I could shoot the real sky and have a shuttle flying, but then I'm limited to my camera and I have to track it, or I just do a CGI sky and I can use really elaborate motions and everything's being lit, and then, you know, it's actually easier by going full CG as long as you do it creatively, right? And that's why I'm always ask the teams to say, get me in early because I can help you write. Like I said, just write it this way saves me 10 hours.
Okay,
let's write
and
it that way.
Your book's solid, so you don't really need work, right?
Do you know how much my fan films cost? I'm always in debt.
Okay, so what about a ship like this? Oops, sorry.
Oh, I've already got his. Yeah, I've already got that ship.
Oh, so have you done effects for Mark Zickery?
No, but we did a whenever I pitch, because they wanted to do some Trekyards with us, and I said, oh, we could do, obviously, look at your ships, right? And so they gave us the CG models that we then converted. And in fact, I saw Mark again at Vegas, and I said, hey...
This year?
Yeah.
I was there.
I know.
Did we talk?
No, but you were playing the
cello.
the
I'm
cello.
the Star
I'm
Trek
trying to-
cello guy. I forgot to announce myself as that. Also, folks, I'm the lead singer of the Macadamians Party Band. I forgot to say that too at the beginning.
There you
Star
go.
Trek
Plug.
cello guy, lead singer in Macadamians Party Band.
I don't know if you recall, but we were going to interview the Tomy people, and the Tomy guy quietly asked if you could not play for 10 minutes.
Okay, I'm trying to remember when that was.
Second day early on. Anyway, so Mark Zachary said, so I said, you know, we obviously know each other vaguely. I said, hey, how do you feel about the little Space Command rocket just as a background lol ship, right? You know, next to DS9. He said, yeah, do it. So I've got open permission to use that as a random extra, which is kind of cute.
All right, so I'm actually pretty intimately involved with Space Command. So, yeah.
So we can effect shots of that ship as well.
Okay, yeah. So
it could be the Orville too.
All right. Well, whatever. So you prefer? So your main thing is effects, or do you like? If you had to pick, if someone gave you a weekend where, like, okay, you got a whole weekend to do something, would you prefer to create some kind of cool effect shot, or would you prefer to write the script for a new show?
That is a big question. They're all so intrinsically differently fun and differently challenging. There's nothing quite like being on set with two people in full Stargate costume, holding P90s, reading a script that they learned for you, and having them sound really frickin' smart. And you're visualizing behind them a Stargate set, and that's really frickin' satisfying. But then you've got to wake up and only sleep for 5 hours. You've got to shoot them. You've got to be responsible for everything. So it's your fault if you don't get a good take. It's your fault if you don't get a good camera shot. That's a lot of responsibility. And then the editing, it's a lot of green until suddenly they're on the set and it's really exciting. Wow, they're on the set. That's really cool. And the spaceships. Then you've got to spend 12 hours doing 3 shots, whatever. The scripting's fun, but then you're thinking practicalities. So they're all super different in fun.
Right.
It's really fun to be able to be almost done with a film, because then you can just watch it and enjoy. Although that said, whenever you make something, you always see the stuff in between. You always see the bad bits. Like, I'll never be able to watch my films, actually watch them. Now, luckily, as time goes on, you can watch things a bit fresher. So I can go back and see some older films and think, oh, okay, I'm more removed from the problems.
Right. Can you watch your old, like, I can, if I wait long enough, I can watch one of my own things and enjoy it with a fresh perspective and not be so stuck on all the minutiae of all the little details. Like, can you do that?
I'm also forgetting the dialogue because I'm producing these at like most fan filmmakers make one film a year if they're lucky, right?
Like, that's me right now.
And that's normal, right? Super normal. I do.
I feel guilty about it.
It depends. I mean, we could make a film together in 2 weeks, right? How do we do, frame it in a way that could be done? Totally doable, right? But it depends how you try and do things. So I've forgotten a lot of the films I've done in different ways. A lot of the subtlety. Like the next film to come out for Trekyards is a DS9 film, and it's a really good script that Nim Keeley just really ate up. She had such a lot. Now I say fun. It's not a fun script, but it was fun to act because it was different, right? It was bold. It was. And I forgot all the subtlety because, of course, you remember the big stuff, but not the small stuff. And it was really fun to rewatch her performance, thinking, I wrote that. Oh, yeah, I've no proper memory of writing it, but I know I wrote it and I was focused at the time. So a few films like that. Like I got I won't spoil it, but I got a Marcus one and a Nick one. They're like, those are good, silly, fun scripts. I don't remember any of the small stuff, but I know they were good at the time, and that's going to be fun when I get to them. So I think, overall, I really enjoy making the space shots because you can actually bring almost full show quality, as in like to you and me, right? Not any professional artist says, this is wrong, whatever. Fine, good for them. We can't achieve that. But, if it looks like Enterprise, which is already 20 years old, so not new, if it looks that good,
on a thousandth of the budget.
Exactly. In my home office over a long time, then I'll be very happy. Right. And because I've been working with my team for a long time, I've built all these assets from scratch for these shows I do. So I know what they can do. I know they're custom to us. I know they've got interiors. I know, stuff like that. So it's a real satisfaction is the wrong word, but we built this as a group, as a team, and now I get to make art that I know fans, the quote of fans, they get to see something so special that when I was a kid, I wanted to see these ships fly together, and I get to create that for all of you, which lots of people could make, but why aren't you? Because it takes a crazy person, a bit of time, and a bit of effort, and a story.
Right.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
So this gets totally. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this. So when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time daydreaming about Star Trek, and I would just daydream all this stuff. It would all be in my imagination. And now I'm an adult, and I'm basically doing the same thing, except besides daydreaming, I'm actually making it into reality, at least within my own show. But it's the same thing, you know?
Yeah. And the amount of films that I've quote unquote been forced to do, as in, so a lot of time, budget is budget, right? You got to spend what you got to spend. And if you've invested, some of earlier films were slightly bigger,
Right.
but if you've got to book, say, 2 actors, and they have to have their expenses covered and hotels covered, right? That's X number of dollars you spent. Either way.
Right.
What if one actor has to cancel last minute?
Then you're
You've now lost. Do you cancel the shoot and lose all the money, which you guys have funded? Or do you say, right, actor number 1, you still come down, and I'll write a new film for you to shoot?
Oh, at the last second.
Maybe they'll
I would be more likely just to shoot the first actor by themselves and then figure out a way to composite in another actor.
all those films are very team based. They're very like, if I'm going to get 2 actors and cover those costs, they're going to be interacting. Those were not doable that way.
Okay.
So like 4 or 5 films I filmed because one actor had to cancel, and I don't want to waste the money on the other actor. So I've lost money, but I've made a new film, and because I need to film it in like 6 hours or 4 hours or 3 hours, with only this amount of, but also it's got to be a character piece because I can't do this giant space opera. So I've got and ironically, some of those have been some of the best films because they've had to be really character focused, and I've not thought about them. I've just invented them, done some inspiration back of the mind, or I've always wanted to see this. Okay, let's do that because it's new.
Right.
Like time travel, or
like the example of Star Trek 4, the motion picture 4, is a lot of people's favorite one, and it was done on a super low budget with not really that many effects in it. Because they had to come up with a script that didn't require all those special effects. So they spent most of the time in San Francisco just walking around, and talking about stuff.
Yeah, but sometimes Matt, like the Lower Decks one, it's a really funny, silly film. I wrote it in 2 hours, having not at 7 p.m. it didn't exist. At 10 p.m. the script was finished, and we're going to film the next day.
Right.
And it was charming, and it's fun, and it works, and it's a zeitgeist of working. And some of my favourite films are those because something in me created something, like I said, couldn't think about it. I couldn't backtrack. I couldn't whatever. Had to be a good idea. Had to go for it. Now, when films aren't that organic to write, there's not quite as good an idea.
Right.
One of the biggest films I've done is I've got a few big episodes, which will take a lot longer to produce, of course. One of them's where we deal with the whale probe again. It's like The Return, and I can't remember the name. We released a trailer, and that was a fun thing. We filmed it all. It was a 4-day shoot, 3 actors, so budget, therefore, for that many things. Just hotels, right, for that many days, for that many people, right? You can see how it mounts up just by anyway. And that film was such a good. I felt this real creative core that it was a real idea I had, and I wanted to frame it on Romulans, and like the idea is the whale probe. Another one goes to Romulus.
Romulans. So who did you get to do the makeup?
Oh no, it goes to Romulus.
Oh,
we have to stop it. But I like the idea of like, well, how would they approach it, and how do we approach them approaching it, and then how do we learn more, and that sort of vibe. And I wrote the entire, let's say, 45-page script in 2 days.
Yeah.
And it just zipped out of me because I know the characters, I knew the story, I knew the ending, and I was building CGI shots the next week just casually. I think there's like 67 space shots in that film. I really love the script. It's so organic and so dynamic, and so many fun ideas, and it's just worked. That doesn't happen every time. When it does, it's lovely.
Okay, so I could write a 30-page script in 2 or 3 days too, but the only reason I can do it is because I would have spent at least a month mulling around in my mind in the shower to figure out how it goes, and it's just that when I finally write it, it's pretty much ready to go. But was that the case with your 45-day script, or did you just
had the idea? I had the inspiration. I just went with it. It just flew. Because for me, scripting the story, but how can you predict a character's a quippy remark on page 16? Right. How can you possibly do that? Right. Yeah. So for me, if I know the characters who I've invented and I know the dynamic, they're just talking, and the logic of the universe is also at play. For example, me and Stuart like the procedural nature of Trek. You don't want the TNG set, the TNG cast to be like, fire torpedoes. You want them to scan the ship. talk about the ship's scans, talk about what it can do, decide. Whereas another show would just say, are they powerful? No. Target them. But we like the logical procedural. It feels the trekkiness, right? And so if you know that's how they all are, and you know this one's a scientist, this one's a pilot, this one's brash, this one's dumb, then suddenly they just talk, and the characters, the dialogue just for that particular one, it flew because I knew what they were going to say to each other. I was just the catalyst of the text, right?
Right.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm
So
lucky,
interesting.
but also I'm 10 years of scripting, right? This is I realized my passion of filmmaking at 13. I've been doing it over half my life, so this is kind of what I do, and I've got kind of good at it.
So you're 26?
No, I'm 32, but
Okay.
I over half, but
Okay.
there's under half.
Okay. But you're still a kid.
Under half, but still well.
Okay, wow. So, and then did you, and now, so you just went for it. Did you ever like go to film school or do any of that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I worked out my passion when I think it was 12, and then I did the rest of school with that in my mind when we were at our, we call it university. I think you call it college, the 4-year dedicated. Yeah, that's college.
Yeah.
Also, it's high school before college then.
High school's before college, yeah.
Is there an in-between?
No, well, not really. I mean, high school is basically what we have is 12 grades. We do kindergarten and then through 12 grades, and then you graduate high school.
One
when
long
18.
school kind of thing, just keeps going.
Yeah, and then you go to college, which we kind of interchange college and university.
Okay.
But then there's these things called community colleges, which is like a 2-year college. That's a lot cheaper. And then you either just take your 2-year degree, or you can transfer to a university and turn that 2 years into 4 years a degree, and then you got your undergrad.
So when I was in 12th grade,
Okay.
before university, we actually, for those 2 years, we were starting to do more complicated courses, and one of them was filmmaking, or media production was the phraseology, and the last thing of the second year was make a film. And I'd already been making web series at my school with popular kids, ironically, which convincing them, I don't know how I did it. I'm a timid guy, really. This is obviously a different sort of space, but I'm a timid guy, and I got some popular kids to be the lead actors. Crazy, but I did, whatever. And the final year, the final project, and this sounds less crazy because of the stuff I did for Lodex and Prodigy, but it kind of shows what I was doing back then in 12th grade. We were told the brief on Friday. It was make a 4-minute film, had to have a few actors, have a story, and you had, I think it was 3.5 months. That was the assignment, right? I wrote it in class on Friday. I shot it on Saturday with my friend. I edited it on Sunday, and I presented it to the lecturer on Monday. He was like, "This is really good." I got an A for it. It's like, you just did 3 months of work in one weekend. You're now going to help everyone else. So I was the assistant to like 3 teams, but that's because I've been doing it for 2 years already, and I had some props, and I had some Stargate props. So it was a sci-fi film. I did cloning. It was really ambitious, but I knew how to do it in the way I did it, and I just made it. And I got an A for one weekend's work, and they're very impressed. And that's kind of oops. But it wasn't that. It's not that difficult to make a 3-minute film when it's physical, but it had laser effects, had some cool things. It's still a pretty decent piece of work, actually. I'm still quite proud of it. And yeah, I helped some other teams. I did a ghost short with one of them. I did it was weird, but I was just a helper for a bit. So it was my passion. And then obviously that got me a ring endorsement to go to university for filmmaking, and I applied some places. I almost got into, not Cambridge, but there's 2 universities in Cambridge, the town, and I got into the lower end one, which is still a prestigious one. It's still a great university, but their course was slightly more TV slanted, because no one really does film production courses in the UK. It's always filmmaking, film production. There's more of a broadness to it, which is useful. That one slanted towards TV studio work, which I had no interest in particularly. Like, they had a full studio. It's like, I don't want to stand there, work camera 3 and just point at the guys talking. I'm not learning. So I went to another one, which is about an hour from my hometown, and I did 4 years of that. And I within 3 months I was elected the lead of the Students' Union YouTube. I suddenly owned that, as it were, and I ran that for 2 years with the team. I pretty quickly got scouted by some filmmakers there. I did nightclubs, I did weddings, I did go-karts, I did luxury cars. I was filming stuff. I was able to self-fund buying kit that was better than universities within the first year. I mean, I used all of the money, right? That was everything I earned. But within a year, I managed to buy better kit. They weren't trying to stay up to date, fine. But I got better kit in the. So I was then being asked by my fellow students, "Can we use your camera? Can we use you as the camera guy? So your camera's better." Like, okay, fine.
Right.
So that was so yeah, been a passion of mine. I did it for 4 years, and then did Trekyards in the last year, and then that's been the job for
your thing. So all your shows, you're the camera person, the writer, actor,
Yep.
editor,
I
lighting
try
person.
not to act, although because I cannot remember dialogue at all. Basically,
Yeah,
I mean,
you know what I have to do in my show. Even though I write the script, I've got cue cards and stuff all over the place because I'm really bad at memorizing my own lines too.
I just have a short term memory problem. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally look at some numbers and I have to remind myself. I literally cannot take a food order from the table to the bar. I'll have to write it down. I can't remember people's orders. I just don't have that.
Right,
It's
I wouldn't
funny.
be able to do that either.
So I can remember the warp speed and all these things of the Connie and all the important stuff, but I can't remember
Right.
it short term.
Yeah, okay.
But we also use AutoCue, and that was so when COVID happened, I worked 7 days a week for 2 years, so I earned a lot more than I would normally. I invested that in 2 cameras, some lights. I bought everything good because I could, right? I knew I was going to do something with that. So I bought some AutoCues. I bought some, and that's how we do the documentaries. When we did our second doc, because documentary, sit down interview style format. And I said to the actor, right, we're going to film 35 pages today.
In one day? Wow.
But if it's an auto cue, you just read it. But my guys can read well. And
So
we can
auto
normally-
cue, I think, is what we call a teleprompter.
Yes, teleprompter. Mhm.
Okay.
And it's genius because, of course, you're looking at the interviewer, right? And an interview, the way you film an interview, is never straight on. It's always to the side. It's this. If I'm reading auto cue like this, you don't think about it, and you direct them in a way that doesn't feel that they're reading. And we can normally shoot about a 25-page doc in about an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are fun. And imagine, as an actor...
How many
getting-
takes do you do then of something like
2.
that?
We do.
Oh,
do
that's
2.
it? No wonder, okay. Because
Well,
I
2
know, I
cameras,
like
2
when I do
takes.
my show, I do like 10 takes of everything. Because I want to have like all kinds of different versions and alternates and things so that when I edit it,
So the first version, I'll just say just read it as the person. The second one, I will stop if I need a new line read. So the first one's about 45 minutes, second one's about an hour. But I really hone the performance so I can really I'm not giving them line reads, but I'm saying for this line, picture that you got punched in the face and you don't like the guy anymore, or you just slept with your girlfriend, or you're happy you just got a bank balance of $1 million, right? Just something to change the emotion, and it really works. Those simple prompts, just the way people approach it. But imagine being in character for like a 12-minute take, just talking. They love it because they just get to be the character, which is so rare. Normally in short films, you are acting and reacting, and often what's Shield status? 15%. Okay, well, how much character are you doing to that? It's just you saying lines.
Right.
In a sort of, there's not. But if you're having to give a 2-page speech about how you feel about Dominion War, and make it interesting, with some cut-ins, of course, but like you've got to really act it, right? You've got to really go into it. So, like I said, Nick won Best Actor of the Year last year for Belsac 2, and he was very happy because he never won an award before, and he won Best Actor the year it came out. I'm really proud of him because he did a really freaking good job. Yeah.
Oh, this is so fun. That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, you can just burn so many hours and days of your life doing this stuff because it's just like it's so easy to get totally obsessed with it.
Yes. And like I say, if you've got all the sets, like I could today, okay, it's already past 2 a.m., but I could write because I just got the new Dennis TNG uniforms, right? Like Dennis, you just made the new ones.
Right.
And I could write myself as a TNG film tomorrow, film it on Wednesday, do whatever I want. I mean, it's hard to film yourself, but you could do it. And I'll film out within a week or 2. But I only want to tell real stories, as weird as that sounds. They should be interesting, should be different. I've done so many different things, so how do you do a horror next? How do you do a love story? How do you do a political drama? How do you do one where you're pushing an actor to be vengeful? How do you do... Because I like to think I always push the actors, because then you shouldn't,
So I have... do you know... oh, shoot. Oh, come on. Why can I not think of his name right now? Oh, darn it. Okay, well, I'm just going to say that I have a particular friend who has his own fan series, and he became rather in love with Captain Hardinger, so he asked me if Captain Hardinger could be in his show. So, like, could my character, Captain Hardinger, ever be in one of your shows if you ever do some kind of TOS type of episode or something?
Maybe. I have quite high standards for filming, as you can imagine.
Right. Well, we would
But
just do it. I mean, we'd do it via Zoom. Like, you could do some kind of view screen conversation or something.
yeah, I try not to do view screen stuff in general.
Oh, really?
And not that you can't do, of course, but that's the easy way.
Right.
Like, for example, the 2 times we brought Nick in, he filmed in Scotland, we had shot 3 angles of the entire scene. So we had the view screen shot, the side view, and the close-up, so that you could cut from the view screen to his perspective.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
because instantly you don't think it's a view screen, you think, oh, it's a, so those things I find meaningful. That's why I don't bring many actors in, because they need to raise a certain standard, because I don't want anyone to stand out, as it were.
But you want to have a... Well, I mean, if you've set a certain quality for what your show's supposed to be, then it has to be that. You can't have a scene that's not that quality, then it'll thud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, yeah. Oh, so many different ideas. Wow.
Especially when you realise I've done things like I've got the Preserver Obelisk, I've got the NSA Protector, I've got the Guardian Forever, I've got...
well, I got the Guardian Forever right here.
There you go. Yes, you do.
And actually, it can do a lot of different light patterns. The very first time I used that, I had the lights flickering and stuff, and my guest asked me to turn it off because she was partly autistic and it just was freaking her out. So ever since then, I've always just set it so that they don't flicker.
Yeah. Looks nice. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I got it from one of the vendors in Vegas.
Ah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's cool.
Yeah,
Okay, let me show you this. Sorry. So this is what it is. It's battery powered.
Oh, right. Nice.
And say what I can do. Okay, well, let's just do it. So now that should start flickering, I think. Is it flickering? No. Okay, try another set. Come on. You can do this.
Yeah,
okay. So now it's doing a pattern, so it'll do something like that, which is cool.
Yeah.
You know what? That isn't such a bad flicker. That's a little bit gentle the way it does it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to keep that right there.
And then has been made.
I got it near my lava lamp. And then it's hard to see, but okay, I've got this, which is the evil Captain Kirk from Mirror Mirror. And then I also have this, which is my own practical model of the Doomsday Machine. See that? My very first Star Trek film I ever made, I had a Doomsday Machine shot, and I used this, and it actually came out pretty good.
Very nice.
So, anyhow.
And that's why, I don't like the word fan service, because, and this is for just the industry as well, who are you making your content for if not for the fans of the content? Right? Like, would you make a Star Wars film and not do anything that fans want? Well, then you'd have a failed product, and therefore you'd lose all the fans, right? By definition, you're making stuff for fans. There's a broad spectrum of fans, but definitionally, right? And that's why you have shows last 5-10 seasons. You're making for that audience, right? So fan service is a dumb thing. So therefore, the stigma that you say, well, I want to do a Doomsday Machine film, which I've done one of, you could say, oh, it's fan service, unless you make it interesting, make a new dynamic, make it twist, treat it like a real narrative device versus a look at the pretty thing. Right, and so I'm very happy and very keen to use the iconic visuals as long as it's really clever, because then you're able to utilize the logic, the storytelling advice, the narrative, but also build potentially the universe around that. The whale probe story, like I say, like we don't obviously explain what it is, why it is, but we add clues to a version of how I interpret it that's interesting, that makes you think, oh, okay,
right.
It's subtle, but it makes you think, oh, okay, maybe. You can add to it. Rather than inventing, I always say, like in Stranger Worlds, right? You can invent a new alien of the week who will maybe be here for the week and everyone forget about. Or you can look back at the Pantheon of Trek and pick something that's already been established, and now you're adding to the lore. You're like adding something.
A Gorn, basically, the new version of the Gorn, for example.
That's more changing than adding. But like if you took a Alien Racer Enterprise that was used once, bring it back in, and you make it, it's like, oh, you're adding, you're not just... So, use stuff and add stuff. It's all part of the fun.
Okay. Have you attempted to do a CGI Jeffries too?
Well, Well, technically, yeah. Which version?
Okay, TOS. Like, have you ever attempted to like have somebody climb up a ladder and pretend like they're in a Jeffries tube, and then just do a CGI Jeffries tube around them so that it looks like they really are in it?
For my first Trek fan film, I had two actors crawling on the floor in a void Jeffries tube, and that was funny because one butt had to be in the other person's face, and they were not happy about it. But we had to do several takes. It's a good shot though. Jeffries tube, I believe we do have in our corridor part of the exterior, but it's one thing that you criticize real Trek for, saying why don't you think about that? But the fact is, unless you need it, you don't necessarily put time towards it. So we've never needed the Jeffries tubes. We've never spent, said artists, please spend next week of your life building it. Wouldn't be hard to build, but never been needed. But I don't think it'd be that easy to achieve a look in a ladder. I think that would be easier to look crap than good. Now the standing ones in Enterprise, that would be a lot easier, of course.
Right. No, it would have to be the diagonal one tube, like from from the original.
Yeah, very difficult.
Climb into.
I mean, you could have someone like perched, sitting in the tube. That would be obviously doable because it's just a sitting person with a different context. But
it seems like it wouldn't be that hard. Like if you can get a ladder set up in the same angle and then just put a green screen cloth over it, and then it seems like you ought to be able to pull it off.
I mean, someone could, but it'd be difficult and very intricate, right? I mean, anything's doable in CG. It's just a matter of time and effort.
Right. Interesting. Oh, so many things. Okay, well, I got to wrap it up because I have another interview at 7, and I need to clear my mind in between. So over here, it's about 20 after 6 p.m. on a Monday, and over there, what is it, like 2:20 a.m. on a Tuesday?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Over here being Seattle, and over there being where are you, in London, or where are you?
Nope, most people don't live in London. That's always 40 minutes north of London, which for us is quite a long way.
Okay.
I mean, middle of the country, we call it the Midlands.
Midland. Anyway, in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The one that started it all.
And
you're welcome.
So be sure not to put anything too offensive on social media because we don't want you to get arrested. Is that so happening over there?
I don't keep track of that stuff. I'm very non-political.
Okay. I mean, that's a thing over here right now, is that, well, in the whole world, there's this thing about censorship and what we're allowed to say and what we're not. And then the question, of course, is, well, according to who? That's
was in charge at that time.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the big question there. So, anyhow, I don't suppose you know a guy named Simon?
What, down the road, Simon?
Well,
tall
because
guy?
I met a guy.
6'3"?
Okay, I met a guy named Simon who lives in the UK. I met him at Vegas. Let's see what's. Okay, I'm going to look up his last name real fast. Like, maybe you guys are friends. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, you are more likely to be friends with Trek fans. That is fair, but
okay,
big country.
I believe his name is Simon Ellis. Does that sound familiar?
I mean, I think I know a Simon Ellis. I don't know if it's necessarily the Simon
Well, he might
Ellis.
be the same one. Anyway, I met him at Vegas.
I think David Ellis, David Ellis, the chap from the other Trek fan film.
Well, Simon, if you're watching this show, which he might be because he did subscribe to my channel. Simon, if you're watching this show,
it's a crazy shout out then, isn't it?
Send me a text, and then I'll have you friend Samuel on Facebook, and then you guys can become friends if you aren't already.
There we go.
So, all right, anything else we want to do before we wrap up?
I would just encourage you to go watch the films. My films, they're not in any order, but what's nice about it is that you can tell which era based on the thumbnail. So if you want to just watch the Keeley saga or the Harriman saga, then go to their youngest uniform, fewest pips, go from there, or watch it in chronological order from when I've released them, because it's been an interesting journey to build up the characters and to kind of, there's a certain flow to them that way, where we're also jumping around their timeline. To be able to go from, I think, 2 films back to back, we did Nim's youngest character performance and oldest back to back, and so any audience member was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah," this, and they felt, and well, that's one of the complaints we got. Her 20-year-old self, they said she's really annoying. It's like, yes, You got it. It's very
Very
intentional
good.
because you have to start somewhere, right? And then at the end, it's like she's really, really good and centered as the old person. Yes, it's a journey, right? You know, good.
And this is all on your YouTube channel, which we're going to put a link to in the description. With all these wonderful shows.
I think we've released 20 Trek films and 2 Stargate films.
Yeah. Have you done any? Do you have any Doctor Who films in the works?
Yes, we filmed one last November. It was trying to be out on the anniversary, but I took all of December off last year to do the effects. It took me all of December to do the first third of the effects. So I bit off more than I could chew on that one, I'll be honest. I will be trying to finish it this year because the last half is a lot less effect heavy. But no, it's good. Yeah, we've got two of our
question.
cast.
So what era of Doctor Who is it? Are you trying to do the modern Doctor Who, or are you trying to do like the 60s?
It's both. It's like this. It's like the 18th Doctor, but I've incorporated. It takes place inside an episode of Doctor Who from the classic show for narrative reasons, so we get to see some classic stuff and some classic TARDISes because it was an anniversary piece, right?
Okay.
I think I do say it in the Indiegogo, but the one of the characters, one of the Time Lord characters, steals the first Doctor's TARDIS to go see a later version of the Doctor. So they pilot the first TARDIS, which we rebuilt, and that was really fun to do, with its metal reflective floor and such. So you'll get to see TARDISes you'll get to see some visuals connect, which we've not seen before, which is exciting. Yeah.
Okay, it's
that's
kind of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so be sure to let me know when that comes out.
I will do.
And then so you're gonna have to be like a regular guest in my show. Every time it's some new show, you put out a new film or whatever, we'll just have you come back and we'll talk about it and help promote it, and that'll be so fun.
Are you a Stargate fan?
Somewhat. I'm not super into it, but I know I've watched. I know the show. I've watched enough episodes to know what it's about. So,
okay. Well,
but my problem, of course, is I'm so busy that there's a jillion shows I want to watch, but I don't really have time to watch them all.
Time, shouldn't you? Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. Are you busy then? Huh.
Yeah.
So that'll be that's coming up soon as a crossover piece, and that'll be for Stargate fans. That'll be crazy. So.
Maybe you could use a Guardian of Forever for the Stargate. It's basically that's what it is.
That will be. I mean, he could connect to one. That would be kind of amusing. I hadn't thought of that. That is an interesting idea. Huh.
And in my show, I don't call it the Guardian of Forever. I call it the Giant Donut of Eternity.
Also good.
And everybody knows what that is.
What do they call in Discovery? What's his name? Carl.
Carl, yeah.
Guys, it's funny to have that inside the logic of the Guardian to like, he's sent it and he can move because you can use that. And it's like, can you call him Carl? It's like, hey, Carl. Open. You can, yes. It's weird. But it's interesting. I like Carl. He was a fun addition. Director.
Yeah. Oh, so much fun. All right, so we're going to look at everybody go to the YouTube channel, and then are people allowed to friend you on Facebook?
My Facebook, my friends, is my friends' friends, but anyone can message me. I always respond to anybody.
Okay, cool.
Any questions, CG questions, or always respond to messages. I'm vague, but
right.
It's my Facebook friend is 12, right? Whatever. So it's personal stuff, but always message me is fine.
Okay, very good. All right, so I need to let you go so you can go to sleep. It's quite early in the morning.
Gotta be up
very
in
good.
7 hours.
Wonderful interview, and then may you live long and prosper.
Indeed.
And don't you know how to do this?
I do, but that's always Stuart's thing. I'll do. There you go. I'll do that one. I'll do the.
Okay, very good.
One. Well, hey.
There we go. And then we'll talk about the project that we're going to do with the TOS Miranda class.
Exciting.
I totally want to do that, and I totally want to do a really high quality one. So I'm willing to invest into making a really good model.
Beautiful.
That I can use, and I'm happy to share it with anybody else that wants to use it too.
People have asked for that before, but never quite committed. So it is a much requested, just never quite,
Okay, well, you and I can make it happen. All right, so exciting. All right, sir, take care.
Thank you so much.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Pranakasha Production. Fantastic creations emerging spontaneously from the space of life.
For the benefit of all beings everywhere.
We gotta change.